Today we're going to talk a little bit about a topic of self-direction. Many people come to us and ask, can they self-direct their plans with us? And simply what they're asking is, can I take your plan and take it to Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab? Do I have to invest with you? And of course the answer is yes. We're not investment advisors, so we can assist you at opening the accounts up with them. But that's not what we would call really truly self-direction. Self-directed really in the retirement space means, can you invest in non-qualified assets? And these would be assets that are not, publicly traded, where there's quoted valuations out there on a daily basis. For example, things other than stocks, bonds, CDs, money market accounts, mutual funds, ETFs, all that type of stuff. The answer to that question is yes, absolutely you can. We get asked the question a lot, but we don't set up too many plans as self-directed plans. And the main reason is that even though you can do it, there's a lot of challenges that are involved in doing it. Some of the challenges that you would see would include the way the administration is, the valuation on the accounts, keeping control of the assets, making sure they don't go too high in value, too low in value. Some of those things can add a lot of complications. So we'll talk a little bit in this video about some of the issues that we have with self-direction. From the administrative standpoint, there's three main issues that we bring up that are going to make it complex. First of all, most of our plans are solo plans. And with a solo plan, you can typically file a 5500 EZ. But since you've got a solo plan that has non-qualified assets in it, we're really precluded from using the 5500 EZ form. We have to use the full 5500. Okay, that's a more complex form, more time consuming, a little bit more work on our end. But again, not that big of a deal at the end of the day. The second thing is if you have non-qualified assets, and these would be real estate, promissory notes, hard money loans. In fact, we've still got some people that invest in Bitcoin and other things like that, although we don't recommend that. But those types of assets, you typically will have to have bonding or an audit of the plan. It obviously doesn't make a lot of sense to have the plan audited every year. So what we would typically see is that you would have to have bonding for the plan. Bonding is sort of like an insurance that you pay for to make sure that, there's no theft of plan assets or whatnot. Again, not really that applicable for a solo plan, but certainly, is an added expense, to the plan. It sounds expensive. Typically a bond might run you $400 or $500 a year, but when you buy them, 3, 4, 5 years out or in entirety for 3 to 4, 5 year bond, you can typically get it for something like a couple $100s a year. Remember, any sort of bonds that you pay for is going to be tax deductible, so usually not that big of a deal. But the third issue that complicates the self-direction of plans is going to be the valuation at the end of the year. By now, you probably understand that a defined benefit plan is really targeting an amount at retirement. It's targeting amount down the road. Because we're targeting this balance at some point down the road, an annual valuation of the assets is pretty important. Obviously, that's what our actuary needs in order to do a Schedule SB, which is essentially the certification of your funding amounts. So the accounts need to be valued as of the end of the plan year. Typically, that's December 31st of a given year. Now, what'll happen is that for a basic plan structure, we would ask you for the account balance in your Vanguard account or your stocks, bonds, whatever it might be. Rather simple and easy. You can pull it down from the website. Not necessarily something that we need to see or have access to. However, when it comes to owning real estate or other assets like that, that can be a little bit more challenging. So if you took $100,000 and bought a piece of land with it, you'd have to give us the valuation of that land at the end of the year. Typically, that's done with some form of appraisal that's being done on the asset, some sort of independent review that can signify or that you can actually verify to us that an adequate valuation was being done on that land. So there's definitely an added headache of doing that, a little bit more cumbersome on your end. Also, because of the valuation fluctuations that you see in a lot of non-qualified assets, again, Bitcoin, maybe certain types of note instruments, hard money, and real estate, it can lead to more challenges with your funding levels. For example, if you took that piece of land for $100,000 and let's say you got a great deal on it and you bought it undervalued. Well, let's say at the end of the year it's worth $200,000. Well, now it's gone way up in value. Because of that, it added increased volatility and your future contributions are going to come down a little bit. Okay. So bottom line, the moral of the story is you can self-direct a defined benefit plan or cash balance plan. However, you need to be very, very careful because there's a lot of issues that can tie into these plans. We typically will say that it's best to do it in an IRA or a 401k. There's other issues like UBIT and UDFI, which are relevant in these plans, more so to a 401k or an IRA in that structure. But definitely things you need to be concerned about. A lot of people like to do the self-direction in these plans because that's where they've got a large amount of assets. But I typically would say start off with a self-directed 401k plan. And then if you want to move into a self-directed DB plan at some point down the road, you certainly can. But anyways, make sure if you're looking to self-direct a plan, you reach out to us. We'll walk you through all the headaches, questions, concerns to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into when you set the plan up. Hopefully that helps.